Nicholas Negroponte, a professor at MIT, had a dream. In it, every child on the planet had his own computer. In that way, he figured, children from the most impoverished places, from deserts and jungles and slums, could become educated and part of the modern world. Poor kids would have new possibilities. It was a big dream. Negroponte thought he had a chance of actually seeing it happen if he could help invent a really inexpensive laptop. So 2 years ago, he founded a nonprofit organization called One Laptop Per Child. He recruited a cadre of geeks, and voila, the $100 laptop designed specifically for poor children was born. But let's go back to the beginning, when Negroponte first got his idea in Cambodia. The idea came to him in a remote village called Rex Mai, a 4-hour drive on a dirt road from the nearest town. It's as far from MIT as you can get. They don't even have running water. Negroponte and his family founded a school here in 1999, putting in a satellite dish and generators. Then they gave the children laptops. Instantly, school became a lot more popular.
How's the weather? It's sunny.
Kids who had never seen a computer before were now crossing the digital divide.
It's sunny today.
Nicholas Negroponte was knocked out.
The first English word of every child in that village was Google. The village has no electricity, no telephone, no television. And the children take laptops home that are connected broadband to the internet.
When they take the laptops home, the kids often teach the whole family how to use it.
Families loved it because it was the brightest light source in the house.
Because they had no electricity.
Right. Talk about a metaphor and reality simultaneously. It just illuminated that household.
We have to go to study computer now. Yes? Good.
Once the computers were there, school attendance went way up.
This year, for example, 50% more children showed up for first grade.
In Cambodia?
Yeah, because the kids who were in first grade last year told the other kids, you know, school was pretty cool.
Negroponte wanted this for all children everywhere, but he realized conventional computers were too expensive, and so his dream of a $100 laptop was born. And this is it, a low-budget computer for children. Children like these second graders in a poor school in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Each child has been given his or her own machine as part of a test for the Brazilian government to see if they should buy them for all their school children.
This must be pretty exciting for you to see these children.
It's very exciting. It's very gratifying. It's been 2 years in the making.
The children seem to especially like the built-in camera that takes stills and video.
She's taking a picture of us, taking a picture of her.
Right.
It also has Wi-Fi.
She's on the web?
Yeah, she seems to be on the web.
Negroponte's idea was that kids don't need teachers to learn the computer. They can pick it up by experimenting on their own, or as in this case, with help from a friend.
That is what we're doing, is that kid is showing this kid. That is key. They get it instantly. It takes a 10-year-old child about 3 minutes.
And you're talking about children who've never worked on a computer?
Children who've never, in some cases, seen electricity.
The laptops are for sale in minimum lots of $250,000. Each costs $176, though Negroponte expects the price will go down to $100 within 2 years.
You go into countries where there may not be enough food, where the children may not have good enough education to even teach them to read. Why a laptop? It almost sounds like a luxury for these people who need so much more than that.
Let me take 2 countries, Pakistan and Nigeria. 50% of the children in both of those countries are not in school.
At all?
At all. They have no schools. They don't even have trees under which a teacher might stand.
You're saying give them a laptop even if they don't go to school?
Especially if they don't go to school.
Oh my.
If they don't go to school, this is school in a box.
Negroponte took a leave of absence from MIT 2 years ago and has done little else but work on this ever since.
So Nicholas Negroponte,
Yes.
what's in it for you?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
He says it's purely humanitarian and non-profit. With startup money from Google and other big companies, he assembled a team of engineers and programmers to come up with something that would stand up to third world conditions.
You can pour water on the keyboard. You can dip it into, you can dip the base into a bathtub. You can carry it in the rain. It's more robust than your normal laptop. It doesn't even have holes in the side of it. If you look at it, dirt, sand, there's no place for it to go into the machine.
Again, designed for the child.
Yes.
It looks like a toy on purpose, but it's a serious computer with many innovations. For instance, it's the first laptop with a screen you can use outdoors in full sunlight. Walter Bender, the president of software on the project, says there are loads of new features. You can draw on it.
Oh, look at that.
Use a pen.
Or compose music.
It actually looks like an animal. These are meant to look like ears, right?
Right. These ears are the way in which the laptop communicates to the rest of the world. So the laptop listens with these ears. Those are the radio antennas. Sort of
I
like
don't have that on my computer.
No, and one of the reasons why this computer has probably 2 or 3 times better Wi-Fi range than your computer is because you don't have that.
It has 2 to 3 times better range.
Better range
Wi-Fi?
than your $3,000 laptop.
How long does the battery work?
By the time we're done with all our tuning, the battery should last 10, 12 hours
Really?
with heavy use.
If the battery does run out and you live in a thatch hut in the middle of nowhere, you can charge it up with a crank or a salad spinner.
So you do this for about a minute or 2.
Do a minute or 2 and you get 10 or 20 minutes of reading.
The one laptop per child computer is a computing revolution.
Wayan Vota is director of Geek Corps, a type of Peace Corps that brings technology to developing countries. He's so fascinated by this computer, he has a website devoted to it.
It's an entire change in the way that you use computers. And at the same time...
You can pour a glass of water on it.
Yes,
and it
it's
won't
waterproof. I can't wait to type outside with a computer for hours without worrying about dust or heat. So the one laptop per child technology is cutting edge. It's clock-stopping hot.
But he doesn't buy Negroponte's contention that kids can figure it out without a teacher.
If you hand a child a violin or piano, they can make noise with it, right? But will they be able to make music? And if you give a child a computer, they'll be able to operate the computer, but will they really be able to learn without having a teacher, whether it's formal or informal, to help them along that learning path?
He says there are other problems. For poor countries like Cambodia, there are costs beyond the price of the computer, like satellites to connect to the internet. And what about theft?
What says an older kid isn't just going to swipe this thing? Seems like it's inevitable.
We've spent a lot of time on security. If this is stolen from a child, within 24 hours, it stops working. It will not be usable.
Oh, so everybody's testing different computers up here.
Yeah.
But lately, one laptop has had to contend with a new challenge, competition. This lab in Sao Paulo is testing 2 other laptops the Brazilian government is thinking of buying for school children, including one made in India and Negroponte's biggest competitor, the Classmate, by the giant chip maker Intel. What do you think of this one?
It's just like a small laptop, miniature laptop.
So it's purely humanitarian. You did it only to help the poor kids around the world. Why did other companies, for-profit companies, decide they wanted a piece of this action?
Because the numbers are so large. They look at the numbers and they say, if we're not in those, we're toast.
Here in Brazil, there are 55 million school children, most of them poor. Many live in favelas like this one. In China, there are 200 million. Worldwide, Nicholas Negroponte says the potential number of kids who could get his laptop is over 1 billion, a fact that has not gone unnoticed by Intel and other high-tech companies. Intel gave every student in this class in Mexico a classmate, which Negroponte believes is part of an effort to kill him off.
It's predatory.
At a recent lecture at MIT, he accused Intel of dumping, of going to the same governments he's trying to sell to and offering the classmate below cost.
Intel should be ashamed of itself.
It's just shameless.
Craig Barrett is Intel's chairman of the board.
Negroponte believes that you're trying to drive him out.
We're not trying to drive him out of business. We're trying to bring capability to young people. And it's more than just Intel. It's going to take the whole industry to do this.
Barrett flies around the world bringing computers to schools in places like Malinalco, Mexico.
Do you like the computers? ¿Les gustan las computadoras?
He says that, like Negroponte, Intel just wants to help kids get affordable computers, and that they would be willing to reach an accommodation with one laptop.
There are lots of opportunities for us to work together. That's why when you say this is competition and we're trying to drive them out of business, this is crazy.
Not to Negroponte, who says the rivalry goes back to when he first introduced the one laptop and Barrett dismissed it as a gadget. That infuriated Negroponte, who says the heart of it is that the one laptop uses chips made by AMD, Intel's biggest competitor.
Intel and AMD fight viciously, and we're just sort of caught in the middle.
To prove that Intel has targeted his machine, Negroponte gave us some documents Intel sent to the government of Nigeria.
And I want you to look at it.
This is an Intel marketing document. There's no question about that.
The document outlines the shortcomings of the one laptop per child approach and lists the supposedly stronger points of the classmate.
So somebody at Intel sees this as a direct competition, clearly.
Well, someone at Intel was comparing the classmate PC with another device being offered in the marketplace. That's the way our business works.
For Nicholas Negroponte, it's not just business, it's personal. It's about his dream, his baby.
Has Intel hurt you and the mission?
Yes, Intel has hurt the mission enormously.
These laptops are prototypes. To get them into mass production, Negroponte needs at least 3 million orders, which he thought he'd have by now. But so far, he has lots of promises, but no definite orders, and he blames Intel. He spends almost all his time now lobbying government officials, going from one country to the next.
I heard that you travel more than 300 days a year.
Yes, it's true. Sadly. I travel.
There are only 365 days a year.
I actually travel about 330 of them.
He says he's confident he'll get his orders, even though he's about to face even more competition as other companies are working on low-cost laptops. That will result in more kids getting them, which is, after all, what Negroponte said he wanted in the first place.
You know, you call your project one laptop per child, and you mean that every kid in the entire world is going to have a laptop.
Yes.
Is that realistic?
If I was realistic, I wouldn't have started this project. Okay.
Okay.
So it's not realistic.
It's the dream.
But we'll get close.